My name's Natasha. I'm married to my husband David. We've got 2 children together. Our oldest is Charlie. He's my stepson. Charlie is nearly 13. Our youngest is Alfie. Alfie's just turned 8. Charlie lives with us half the time. He lives with his mum the other half the time, so we have 50-50 custody, which has been like that all his life. Very used to it. It's a good setup for us all, especially Charlie, double Christmases and double birthdays. My husband was diagnosed with large diffuse B-cell lymphoma. Diagnosis was in November 2017. The biopsy was scheduled for Halloween and we had a big party planned. So we decided that if things were going to start going in the direction they look like they're going in, we wanted to make sure that the children still had as much of a normal life as possible. So we decided that we would tell the boys that there was going to be a biopsy, and we were going to tell them that it was on Halloween, and we were going to still try and make sure that they could do the trick-or-treating. And at that point we decided not to mention anything else other than the biopsy. We took the boys out for coffee and a cake, and we told the boys that Dad had found a lump on his neck and said that we'd seen a doctor and they wanted to cut it out, and that then they were going to send it to a lab and have a look at it and see what it was. And we asked the boys, what do you think it could be? Have you got any ideas? And they said they had a conspiracy theory. Charlie said he knew that Dave had been weird all his life and said it's probably an alien tracking device, and I knew that there was always something weird about you. So we left them like that. They thought it was quite funny. The results came back, and then they told us Dave's diagnosis. We discussed with Charlie's mum and stepdad, and together we discussed really what should we be telling them? Is it too soon to tell them? How much do we want them to know? And it's only natural to want to protect your children. But we decided that we couldn't protect them from this, and it would be better to tell them everything that we knew and help them through their feelings and anxieties and worries and stresses. We didn't want them to feel like we were lying to them. We wanted them to be able to ask us questions, and all of us really support each other. We certainly didn't want the boys finding out of somebody else or hearing words that we'd not spoken to them about, such as cancer or lymphoma or chemotherapy, by anybody else. And they were going to see this was going to be their life. So honesty, we decided, was the best policy. We said, Dad's results have come back. It's not an alien tracking device, unfortunately. And I know he doesn't look poorly now, but he is poorly and they need to start some treatment. The treatment's going to make him look sick and it's going to make him feel sick. They didn't really kind of say anything at first. And it was at that point when Dave said, so what do you know about cancer? And both of them said, cancer? You've got cancer? And we said, yeah, Dad's got a kind of cancer. And Alfie said, have you not been wearing sun cream? Straight away. He said, yeah, it's not that type of cancer. It's nothing to do with being in the sun. It's nothing that he's done. It's not from smoking or drinking. It couldn't have been prevented. Charlie had a couple of questions. He asked if he could catch the lymphoma, which obviously we said, no, you can't catch it. Will he get it when he's older? Was another question. We said no. One of the things that my husband really didn't want to do was promise that everything was going to be okay, because we didn't know at that point what the prognosis was. So we had to be careful that we didn't promise things like that. So they asked us, are you going to die? And Dave said, well, yeah, of course I'm going to die. You know, everybody dies. And I hope that I die before you, because I don't want to see you die before me. That's not right. You know, and I hope that I don't die from cancer, and I hope that the treatment works, but, you know, you just don't know. He said to the boys that, you know, this is going to happen. There's nothing that we can do to stop it. There's nothing that we could have done to stop it. Cancer is now a chapter in our life, and we don't know what the last part of the story is going to be. We don't know how the story is going to end, but right now it's up to us to make sure that the chapters in the story are good. Like, we don't want to now use this as an excuse. There was no reason not to do our homework, not to go to the swimming club. So that's the only promise that we made, and we promised that we would still do everything that we should be doing. We explained that Dad would be having chemo and that it was going to be 1 day in hospital followed by a 21-day break. In that 21 days, he would have a period of time where he was quite poorly, then he would have a period of time where he was getting a bit better, and then the last week he should feel a lot better, and then back into the cycle, and that would happen 6 times. So they were quite happy with that. They especially Charlie likes a plan. He likes the routine. He's very used to that. He knows which nights he's at his mum's. He knows which nights he's at his dad's house. So that routine for him is safe, very, very safe for him. And we thought, with Charlie being 50% at his mum's and 50% at his dad's, we could work it so that he wasn't with us when Dave was feeling his worst, and we could, try and tailor it so it wasn't too difficult for him. We actually thought that out of the 2 boys, Charlie would cope better than Alfie, because Alfie would see it every single day. As it turns out, Charlie, being away 50% of the time, worried more when he wasn't with us. When we initially told Charlie, we were very aware that he had access to the internet and other sources of information through his laptop, his phone. Even just starting high school, we had no control over who we could be talking to in the playground or what their experiences may be. Again, we couldn't protect him from outside information. So we told him that at the time. We said, we can't protect you from hearing about somebody else's cancer or somebody else who may have had cancer and, not had successful treatment. There's lots and lots of stories. Everyone will have a different story about cancer, and sometimes they're not good. All we can do is tell you what we know about Dad's cancer and about Dad's treatment. Now, if you hear anything or if you read anything or see anything on TV, then you can ask us at any time and we'll be honest about it. But, just with the lymphoma umbrella, there was over 60 different subtypes. And when we explained that to him, he was like, oh, right, so it's not just cancer. There's cancer, and then there's this cancer, and then there's this cancer. And then even within this cancer, there's 60 different types of cancer. So what one person might have had or might not have had would be different to what your dad has. So please don't worry too much about what you hear. So the treatment started in December. The anxiety and the worries over things that you really can't control in that first cycle was difficult. And it was also going into the new routines. Charlie was swimming for club at the time, and he was training 5 times a week at different swimming lessons, which previous to this, Dave was taking him to. His birthday was coming, it was his 12th birthday, his first birthday at high school, and then his routine started changing. Other people were taking him to his swimming lessons, other people were taking him to school. He weren't at our house on the nights that he should have been because the treatment was happening, or I couldn't take Alfie and Charlie to school at the same time because one was in one school, one was in another school. So a lot of changes happened, and that started to worry Charlie. Although looking back now, Dave was not too bad with his chemo. Obviously, he had various side effects, but he avoided any infection, he avoided any hospital stays. At the time, everything was such a worry and everything was such a stress. And Charlie started doing things like forgetting his school tie or misplacing a book, and, you know, just one thing seemed to lead to another, and he never really spoke about feeling tired or not sleeping, and it was going a little bit unnoticed. And then one day, just after his birthday, his dad had started losing his hair, which we know now really upset him. We got a phone call from the school saying that Charlie had had an asthma attack. Charlie's mum phoned me to say that the school had contacted her. We went to see the doctor together. Charlie got checked over and there were no physical symptoms at all. He'd actually been suffering with panic attacks. At that point, I wondered if we'd have been too honest. Looking back now, I don't think we could have done anything differently to make that better. His GP was great and wanted to refer him for counselling, and unfortunately the counselling was a 6-month waiting list. We contacted a couple of charities and were referred to a local counselling services through Macmillan actually, and it specialised in counselling for children who are affected by cancer, which helped him massively, absolutely massively. I mean, the service was fantastic. I'd never even heard of it before. I didn't realise that there was such a facility that was absolutely free. It cost us no money at all. Charlie always said afterwards that he wanted to talk to us about his feelings, and he wanted to talk to his mum and his stepdad, but he felt like he would upset us with how he was feeling. He wanted to protect us from that, but by not talking, it made him feel overwhelmed, under pressure, and just not being able to cope. So the counselling really did help. Dave's last round of chemo was in the May, and we knew after the chemo we had to wait before the PET scan. So we decided to get back to normal life as much as possible. One thing we did do, after his 6th session of chemo, the boys knew that that was the end, because we told them from the beginning there were 6 sessions before the results. They wanted to go and see WWE wrestling thing, and it was on in Birmingham actually, but it was on a school day. So we contacted the schools and said, can we take them out of school? And we had a big family day out. That was a marker to them. That was, hooray, we were able to do this and we're going to do it, and it's a celebration, and you know, Dad's not having any more chemo for now, so let's do some nice things. So that was the first thing that we did. The day that the PET scan came, nobody knew about it. We didn't even tell his parents. He went for his PET scan and we waited for the results. And we went for the results without telling a single person, which is something that we'd never done. We decided that we may need a bit of time to think about the results. The day the results came, we saw my husband's consultant, and he said, your recent PET scan showed that you're cancer-free. So we came out, we picked the boys up, said, right, we're going out for tea, what do you want to do? And they both said McDonald's. So we drove around to McDonald's, ordered the food, sat eating chicken nuggets, and Dave said, oh, guess what, today I've been to see the consultant, and guess what, I've had a scan and I haven't got any cancer in my body. The boys went, oh, that's good, and continued to talk about whatever we were talking about, which was great, because we didn't want to have the big celebration, I've done this, I'm cancer-free, because like the consultant said, if it's coming back, it's coming back. There's nothing that we can do about it. Since then, they know that he's having checkups every 3 months, and so far so good. For me, I thought the hardest part would be telling the boys that their dad's got cancer, but it really wasn't. It was living through each day, and you can't anticipate how someone's going to react over such a prolonged period of time. You know, things change, new information evolves, and different other stresses become important or less important, and really you just have to take everything as it comes and deal at the time the best way that you think you can deal with it. That's the only advice that I can give. You cannot plan for what's going to happen. Everybody worries, but the worrying really doesn't make anything better. It's to try and somehow turn that worry into a positive energy and make something good from the situation. It's a lot harder when you're in it, I do know that, but that's my advice, is take each day as it comes.